What if I told you there's a voice-activated preheater for sandwich boards? And yes, the I2C AI T20 heater. I've been using it for a few weeks, and I have to say the voice commands are pretty interesting. They're actually kind of helpful. But we're gonna go over how to use this heater and how it works and if it's any good. And I'm gonna show you the good and bad from this now that I've been using it for a while. So I hope you guys watch the full video because it's gonna be a lot of fun. So let's get started. So first thing is where to buy it. That is DIYfixtool.com. So there's a few variations of the kit. So I have the T20 AI host plus iPhone X to 14 Pro Max modules, and that is $95.99, which is actually not a really bad price. For under $100 for a full kit for every plate, that's really good. So let me show you what's included. That is the main unit here, and then the blank plates, the 14 series, 13, 12, and the 10s to 11 Pro Max. So also I'm using the 110 volt version. You know, you probably need the 220 if you're in Europe or somewhere else, but here in the US we use 110, and it's actually a pretty cool tool. So let's go over kind of some specs here, but you know, just the usual stuff. Now let's look at the actual units. So in the box you'll find the main unit, the power cable, which I already have plugged in, and this power cable is pretty much the same plug as all the other heaters I've been using. You know, the L2023, the X360, the mechanic ones. So if you already have some of those heaters, you could just use the same plug for all of them. Now the main units here, it comes with all these plates, you know, the 14 blank and all those, and the user manual. This is going to be actually important for this one because it's actually a little different than the other heaters that you're used to. So like I mentioned, it is voice activated. Now you don't have to use the voice, but it is kind of helpful sometimes. So in the manual, it gives you all the voice commands and the wake up command, which is hey buddy. So just like if you have a Google device or Alexa or whatever, you have to give it a command to wake it up, and it'll respond to you, and you have to wait for it to finish speaking, and then you can give it one of these commands. So here's kind of the manual for that. Everything else is kind of generic stuff. And also it mentions about software updates, so that's pretty cool. So you know, I'm gonna give my honest feedback on this heater, and maybe I2C can fix some of my suggestions for this heater. But one of the things I've noticed is I've plugged this into my computer and it's not detected. So for example, right now I will plug it in. I'll apply power. But my computer never detects it. So I don't know if my unit is defective or not, but I'll plug it in, I wiggle it, I try different USB ports. And keep in mind, this is the cable I use for a lot of Samsung data recoveries or Android phones. So I know it's a good cable. So I don't know if it's missing something, but definitely not detected. All right, so the heater does come with the on and off switch here. So you could, you know, instantly shut it off if you need to, or you could actually turn off the heat with a voice command. So, you know, let me show you first the physical buttons. So there's left and right, which basically adjust the temperature. But if you want to turn on the heat, so by default it's not on, you got to press and hold right. It beeps, and then you'll see the text turns red and it starts heating up. If you want to turn off the heat, you hold left and it turns it off. Another cool thing about this is there's actually a little fan in here. So if you want to cool down the board you're working on, it'll cool it down with that little fan. But you got to enable that. Now, if you're not using voice commands, you have to manually turn that on. So you click OK to go to the menu. You go right, temp group. That's if you want to set up some presets. Cooling set. So you click OK. You tell it how long do you want it to run. So 3 minutes. Click OK. And then so 3-minute fan, and it's disabled. So you gotta click right. I don't know if you guys can see that. there's like a little toggle switch, which isn't coming through on the camera actually. You can see there. So I click right and it moves to the right, and now it's green and it says fast cooling. So now I press and hold OK. Actually, click OK. All right, hold on. So that's the weird thing about, there you go. You gotta hold OK for an extended amount of time. Now you'll see there's a little icon here of a little fan. So let's say you have this on, you're heating up a sandwich and you're basically, you're done. You wanna turn it off. Now, to do that, you can either just shut it off instantly or press and hold left. And now it actually turned on the fan. So that's the main things you're gonna use if you're using the buttons. Now, here's the fun part. We gotta use the wake up command. Hey buddy.
Hi, what can I help you?
Turn on the heat.
Okay, the temperature will rise to 200 degrees.
So, as you can see, the voice commands usually work, but not always. So sometimes you'll give it the command and it doesn't hear you, and you have to like wake it up again and say it again, or sometimes just repeat it a few times. So, hey buddy. Hey buddy.
Hello.
Heat to 70 degrees.
Okay, we'll heat to 70 degrees.
And there you go. So you see if I adjust the temperature, it was at 70. Hey buddy.
Hi, what can I help you?
Heat to 220 degrees.
Okay, we'll heat to 220 degrees.
There you go, and you can see it's going up. If I push left and right, you can see it was at 220. Hey buddy.
Hi, what can I help you?
Turn on the fan.
Okay.
So that one's actually pretty cool. So let's say your hands are busy, you know, with the sandwich board where you're using 2 tweezers to squish the board down, and you obviously can't take your hands off to hold left or whatever. So you just tell it the command and it turns on the fan, and then it starts bringing down the temperature. Those are the main ones I use. I mostly use the buttons to set the temp, and then I press and hold to turn on the heat, because usually I have a free hand anyway. But the one I use pretty often, the voice command, is to turn off the heat or to turn on the fan. But turning on the fan basically turns off the heat. Now, another thing that I do like about this heater is it gets hot. It reaches temp really fast, like super fast. So you don't have to wait, 5-10 minutes like some heaters, like the mechanic one, the new one that just came out. It sucks. Like, it takes forever to heat up. This one, it gets to temp really fast. So let's cool this down. Hey buddy.
Hi, I am here.
Turn off the fan.
Okay.
So one of the things I don't like is how long I have to wait sometimes to give my command. So like when I'm, like I said, like if I'm using 2 hands to like hold the sandwich and then I want to turn off the heat, I have to like give the command, wait for it to finish saying like, hello, how can I help you, or whatever. Then I can give my command. If I speak too soon, it won't take the command. Hey buddy. Hey buddy.
Hello.
So sometimes it just says hello and that's it. That would be nice if it always just said hello or hi and that's it. But sometimes, hey buddy.
Hi, what can I help you?
I guess it's really bad grammar or bad sentence of what can I help you. You have to wait for it to finish. So, hey buddy. Hey buddy.
Hello.
Hey buddy.
Hi, what can I help you?
Turn on the temp.
Okay.
Yeah, see? Hey buddy, turn on the fan.
What can I help you?
Hey buddy, turn off the fan.
What can I help you?
See, you can't do that. Turn off the fan.
Okay.
Hey buddy, turn on the fan. Hey buddy,
Hi, I am here.
turn on the fan.
Okay.
All right, so what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna show you guys an iPhone 12 Pro Max donor board so we can split it, so I can show you how long it takes in real time. Like I said, this heats up really fast, so it's gonna be a really easy demo to do, and we're gonna have to switch the plates. So one of the downsides to this design is these plates. Now, it is nice that there's plates like these, interchangeable, so basically if you buy this heater, it's pretty much future-proof, assuming they create new plates for the newer models. So in this case, we're gonna use a iPhone 12 series plate, and the benefit to this is, China, if you're watching this, here in the US, all our 12 and newer phones have these little 5G flex cables soldered onto the motherboard, and it's not practical to desolder them, so we have to deal with these. And on this model, there you go. So it'll go like this. So you can see it goes in there. The plate is flat, there's no grooves, so this flex is free. It's not like some of the other models where there's grooves. So basically the board will, like this is a 12 mini, it physically goes in this groove, and it has a 5G antenna flex. For example, this one, this is an iPhone 12, not the same model, but at least you kind of see they all have this 5G flex. This is a 13 Pro Max, 5G flex. iPhone 14 Pro Max, 5G flex, soldered on. So these heaters, they don't account for that. So you basically have to, if you want to use any of these plates, you have to like drill them out. Like for example, this is the new mechanic heater. Yeah, it would go here, but you can see the flex does not fit in there, so you can't really use this. You have to drill out, you know, a slot for the flex. On this heater, these are flat. So for example, this is the 13 plates. You know, it goes right there, and then you have room for the flex to do its thing. And same for the iPhone 12 here, which goes like this. The flex is not interrupted by the grooves of the plate. And one thing I do want to mention is the 14 and 14 Plus, they don't have, that's the one model that doesn't have the 5G flex, so does have a groove, but that's fine. Now let's see, 14 Pro Max, does it fit? And yeah, it does. 14 Pro Max, look, the flex cable will fit here, does not get in the way. If anything, it has a little pocket here for it to kind of feed through. So far, all the models that I've tested, I don't recall any that did not have space for the 5G flex, so you don't have to do any modification of the plates. It's all ready to go. All right, so the plate is still kind of hot. We do have to wait till this to cool down to about, this is Celsius, so about 20, 30 degrees Celsius. So let's give it a bit and we'll be right back. All right, so it's reached about 37. It's warm, but not hot. So let's just go ahead and swap it out right now. So let me show you guys how that works. There's like a little lever here, which is not my favorite. I do like the Health 2023, which is a magnetic style. So it has these little magnets here, and then on around it, it sticks on really fast. So you can swap them out really fast. This one's a little different. One thing you'll notice is there's these screws here, and that actually has to line up with the holes here. If you don't have that lined up, it's not gonna sit flat. So we're gonna do an iPhone 12 Pro Max. So find the pattern and match it up down here. And there's like these little tabs here that you slide in, and you push this to the side and make sure you wiggle it around until it lays flat. And then also be careful. When I first got this, I just like blindly pushing down, and I pushed my finger into one of these and it hurt. So yeah, don't do that. So press it down on a flat area and then slide this over, and then it locks in place. Then the other downside to this, it doesn't give you any diagrams on how it's laid out. For example, once again, the L2023 does. So kind of at least tells you what orientation it would go. This one does not. So you do have to kind of fiddle around until you find somewhere where it makes sense. The goal is for it to not move around. So 12 Pro Max goes like that. iPhone 12 would go like that. And then if the cable gets in the way, just kind of fold it so it's out of the way. So, but today we're gonna do a 12 Pro Max because I'll probably need a bottom board swap sometime soon. So might as well prep this here on this video. And another downside to this is these little fingers. They're really tight. So like the tension is really strong. So it's really hard to actually use them. The only time I do kind of use them is I just kind of press sideways against it and it kind of holds stuff in place. But like, I'm not a fan of how like strong this is. Now, if you loosen up the screw, then the whole thing just comes off as well. So that's you can't really release the tension because then the screw just pops out. But honestly, I haven't unscrewed it, but in my experience with all the other ones that have these little tension things is the screw, you will end up basically popping it out, and then it's real hard to put it back in. So unless someone can tell me otherwise, I'm not gonna do that. So let's do it. So let's start off at 180. Right, I could press and hold right, or hey buddy,
Hello.
turn on the heater.
Okay, the temperature will rise to 200 degrees.
All right, one of the things I noticed, it says the temperature, I was at 180, but it sounded like it said it's gonna raise the temperature to 200 degrees. So I don't know how accurate the temperature it says out loud. That's why I like to press left and right so we can see where it's at. So, and then also red means it's getting hot, and not red means it's not. So something to keep in mind, but take a look. We were started around 30 something, and look at that, it's 80. And one thing about these 12 Pro Max, make sure you peel off the pad that's here. So I already have that peeled off, but keep that in mind, remove it, because that allows the heat to spread much better. And once it's at like 100, on these sandwich boards, I like to inject, so to speak, flux here through the side view. Through the side of the interposer. Because what you can do is get a nice clean split and have the solder balls be nice and round versus oxidized pads. Now, one thing is, if you've been doing sandwich on these 12 series for some time, I'm sure you ran into those oxidized pads where basically you get like really gray and really ugly pads that do not accept any solder. You basically have to kind of scrub it really hard, and just doesn't work well. Now, one thing I did realize I forgot is, look at that, I reached 180 already. There's like a sticker here on the side that I didn't take out. Now, I do recommend doing this near a fume extractor because it does create a lot of smoke. But the key to avoiding oxidized pads is add flux, because I think what happens is the factory flux burns away, and then it's just burning the solder, I guess, and oxidizing the pads, and then you're gonna have a bad time. All right, so we reached 186. Now it does overshoot, but it does kind of correct itself with time. And right now at 180, I can see smoke. And what I like to do is look at it from the side and insert my tool in between. And I'm seeing it does not want to separate. So I'm gonna go up another, let's do 20 degrees. And essentially, now another downside, so I2C, one of the, I say, highest priorities as far as fixes that hopefully you can fix with the software update is it does not beep or notify you when it reaches temp. So if you turn this on and you step away and you just forget that you had a board on the heater, this thing's gonna reach the temperature, you're not gonna know. You might get distracted, on a phone call or something else, and then never come back to it, and then you destroy the board. So keep that in mind. It does not beep. Please add a beep function or a notification, or just say temperature reached, something. Yeah, see, it reached temp and it didn't say anything. So at this point, I like to press down on the board so we can kind of flow the solder joints together. And at 200, it should be melting those solder joints. Now, I do recommend you practice on a few donor boards to see what temperature your heater requires, because not all heaters are the same, especially these variable temp ones. All right, so I'm gonna insert my tweezer in between. And I don't feel the tool entering. So I'm gonna go up a little more, 210. Also, I'm gonna keep pressing down to kind of flow those solder joints. But you can see how fast the temperature reaches. That's a really good performance, I would say. And don't forget this side here. This tends to have a lot of ground and takes forever to melt. And let's see. Oh, look at that. I can insert my tweezer. I'm going to try every corner to make sure the solder joints have flowed. This side is not entering, so I'm going to push down so it could help transfer the heat. And yeah, my tool's not entering. Now, just because I could already split this side doesn't mean the whole sandwich is ready. And I think that's the biggest mistake most people run into is they split this and they peel off the rest. You don't want it to peel. You want it to separate naturally, so to speak. So I'm pressing down, letting need that heat to transfer from the bottom board through the interposer to the solder joints. I'm going to try one more time. Oh, there goes. This one separated, this side separated. Check on this corner. Yep. Now grab it like that. Flip it over. Hey buddy, turn on the fan. Turn on the fan.
Okay.
So there's a use case of using the voice command because your hands are busy doing something else. You might not have, a hand literally to turn off the heater or whatever. So, all right, so let's take a look at this under the microscope. Now, another downside is how tall this whole thing is. I wish I had my measuring tape, but it's one of the more taller ones, which means if you zoom in, you might not get in focus of where you're trying to get in. So it's pretty much slightly outside of the focus range. And this is kind of what I wanted to avoid, is kind of these solder joints here, but it's actually not too bad. This is how I want the solder joints to look when I separate it, just like all these right here. Nice and round, little dome shaped pads. And up here it gets ugly. But I think just in general, this is all ground, so that's why. Also, if we take a closer look, any of the underfilled chips, I see 0 signs of solder balls. That is what you want to look for. Let's see, let's look more over here. So yeah, all this is underfilled and no solder balls. So let's clear some of this underfill. So what that means is I did not overheat the board either. So if this heater was a little bit skinnier or shorter, it actually worked. It would be one of my top heaters. So I guess actually if it beeped when it reached temp, if it would be shorter, and I think those fingers were not as tight and could actually use them to hold things down without a bunch of pressure, then it would be a perfect heater. But it's not, and nothing you can do to change the height now. It's already produced. So look, that's like really strong. Now you can use it by just pressing up against something like that so it doesn't move, like that. But in that case, you're basically, they're kind of in the way and you can't really use it. But the posts that the boards are in are also pretty tall. So if you are going to be, working on this board on the heater, it does keep the board in place. Like it won't pop out as easily as maybe some other heaters that have these shorter. So there's that. But yeah, take a look. It's in really good condition, no overheating. I was only about 210 Celsius and no overheating. Here's the top board. Like I said, you want to avoid oxidized pads, which I see 0 oxidized pads, at least so far. Yeah, these all look like really good solder joints that are going to be not an issue to, wick or prep or reball. It looks all clean. No solder balls around PMIC or CPU. Usually when you get real close to overheating, you'll see little kind of pimples coming out of the caps that are directly next to the interfield. So like right here, you see little tiny kind of pimples popping out of solder, but they're not. So this means that I was still within a safe temperature range, and this board should be fully functional with no issues. And then one more feature I do want to show you, although I'm not a fan of it, is the temperature group. So if you go back to home screen, click OK, click right, temp group, click OK. If you enable it, so right now it's enabled, then you could select 3 temperature groups, basically 3 presets, which is pretty cool, but not really. So for example, you put a low temp of 135, put a middle of 180, and then a high of 215, for example. You could change these around, press and hold OK to get out. And now you, instead of manually change the temps, you just go through the 3 temps. The downside to that is you can't tweak it outside of that unless you go back in, or you say the voice command to go to a specific temperature. So right now, hey buddy.
Hi, what can I help you?
Turn on the heat.
Okay, the temperature will rise to 200 degrees.
All right, so right now it's gonna go to 215. Now, if I want 200, hey buddy. Hey buddy.
Hi, I am here.
Set the temperature to 200 degrees. See, also another downside is you have to word it exactly how it shows here. If you kind of reword it, it might not know what you're even talking about. Hey buddy. Hey buddy.
Hi, what can I help you?
Heat to 200 degrees.
Okay, we'll heat to 200 degrees.
And there you go. So, something to keep in mind is the voice commands aren't 100% perfect. You have to word it exactly like it shows here. So you gotta remember those commands exactly by the wording. But yeah, I mean, overall, I would say out of a 10 being the best, 1 being the worst, I would say this is a solid 8 to 8.5. The main improvements I would say we need is, notify you when it reaches temp. If this was a shorter platform, it would work much better under the microscope. So for example, let me get the board out. Right, this is honestly not that much of a difference if you account for the little feet. Although this heater, it does this plate will be a lot lower than the outer shell, whereas this one, it's pretty much the same height there. But yeah, it's like maybe 1/4 inch shorter. It would have been much better, or whatever that is in millimeters, right? And then lastly, I think also if it was more compact as well, because when you're working on the microscope, sometimes you gotta rotate it. Maybe if the plate was rotatable, then that would also kind of solve that long design issue. Is the plates can rotate 180 degrees, then you can sometimes you just need to do something, and instead of flipping the whole thing around, you could just flip the plate and it make things a little easier. The voice commands are, I would say, a good 90% work. Every once in a while you have to keep repeating it, as you've seen throughout the video. It just doesn't hear the command. And then also the response to hey buddy should be really short, like hi, and then you can say your command right away. Having to wait, the what can I help you is the bad approach, personally. Plus it's bad English. But having USB connection to the computer does give hope to future upgrades, so hopefully they can fix some of these things. But yeah, overall, I would say it's a solid heater. Favorite thing is the 5G Flux interchangeable plates, the super hot rapid heating, the built-in fan, that's amazing, and just overall, seems solid. Bad thing is these little fingers. So one of the things, before I forget, is that I use the L2023 a lot, is I would prep the pads on this board. So whenever, if you guys seen my other videos, actually I don't know if I had it on video, I would use the fingers to hold the board in place while I wicked it, which made things so much easier because there's no heater, preheater, or board heater, whatever, that can do top boards and hold it like this. But when you have these little universal things, you could go like this, and then now it doesn't move around as much, and it makes it easier to wick. But this one has a lot of pressure, and sometimes it feels like it's bending the board back. You know, it's a little, you know, it gives me a little anxiety when you see how much pressure is pushing on both ends, and it's not a good look. Whereas the L2023, it's a little softer. I mean, it's still not perfect, but it's way better than this one. It has way less tension, so it can hold the board down without physically kind of bending it. I don't want to untie these and then lose the function altogether. That'd be my suggestion. So I really look forward to hearing you guys' feedback. What do you guys think about this heater? Is this something you'd be interested in getting? What do you guys think about the voice commands? I mean, personally, it actually comes in handy every once in a while. You know, hands-free controlling of the device, although, like I said, it's not perfect. Overall, I would give it, like I mentioned, an 8.5 out of 10 as far as how good the heater is. You know, I've been using it for a solid 3 weeks now as far as like full time. I gave the L2023 to my tech who's been using that one, which also works really well, and I do recommend. Thanks a lot everyone for watching. Let me know your guys' feedback. If you want to support the channel, use the link down below to purchase this if you're interested. Use the links to buy a t-shirt as well. That helps out the channel a lot. We do have a solder course, so if you're looking to get started with soldering, we have a 30-day HDMI and charging port solder course. It basically gets you started with micro soldering, and then from there you can level up to other types of repairs, including sandwich repairs. Check those links out down below. If you want to be able to watch my videos roughly a day before they come out live in public, then make sure you guys join my locals community. All paying supporters get early access to my YouTube videos before they go live, and it's a community there, so you can post questions. You know, I post there regularly about different things I'm doing, different repairs and all that good stuff. So check that out. Like I said, everything is linked down below in the video description. So appreciate all you guys who stuck around here for the full video. If you guys want to see another video where I show the L2023, I'll link it right here. So thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.